All right, if you don't have any more questions about any of that stuff, then we should go over a neurovascular summary for foregut, midgut, hindgut, and make one giant chart. You guys ready for this?
That looks intimidating.
It is a bit. Okay, so you can remove the embryo if you want to. I just put the embryo there because I thought it would be helpful, but then it actually got into the way of my picture, so I had to move it. Okay, so we're going to do one giant visual chart for the neurovascular summary for foregut, midgut, and hindgut. And I think I'm going to try to do this for like every system we do this for going forward. So it's not just a chart that you guys don't understand, but you tangibly like kind of visualize what's happening inside of the body with all this stuff. Okay. That means I'm going to need a little bit of your help. So we're going to do green is going to do parasympathetic. This slide is actually on the supplement for 2.1 at the back. And we're going to do purple is going to be sympathetic. I'm going to do yellow orange things are my ganglion. I mean, I'm hoping you guys are going to know that red is going to be an artery. And that blue is going to be a vein. So you think it's going to be, you thought it was going to be intimidating, but now you're even more intimidated by this, probably. Okay, so our sections, we're going to cut right here, and this is going to be foregut. And then we're going to cut, I'm going to cut right here, and this is going to be midgut. And this is going to be hindgut. Okay. And before I get started, I have to build a couple of extra things. So one of the things I'm going to have to build is my blood vessel. So what is the main blood vessel that is in the abdomen?
The dorsal aorta.
Our dorsal aorta. Okay, and you all might notice, like I'm going from dorsal. So here's my spinal cord to ventral, which is going to be my gut tube. So that's where my dorsal aorta is going to be. Now, there is an inferior vena cava right here, but nothing is going to come off of the inferior vena cava that goes to foregut, midgut, hindgut. So you want a little bit of extra room in the front here for where our veins are going to come off of, okay? So we're going to start it on our dorsal aorta. We're going to draw. I was going to just draw two, but I think I'm going to draw it like this. So I'm going to draw a branch off of my dorsal aorta like that, one like that, and one like that. So let's do our blood vessels first because those are easier. So what is this blood vessel right here that should supply to our foregut?
Celiac.
So this is our celiac trunk. You can call it the celiac artery also if you want to. And then what about here to our midgut?
Superior mesenteric.
You guys are correct. Superior mesenteric artery, like that. And then this one that goes to our hindgut.
Inferior mesenteric artery.
So we have our celiac trunk going towards our foregut, and then it's going to have three branches. Those three branches essentially kind of go this way to become splenic, this way to become hepatic, and this way to become gastric, like that. That's why it's the celiac trunk, okay? We have superior mesenteric, it's going to be found in the mesentery propers, it's going towards our midgut, and we have inferior mesenteric artery coming like that, going towards our hindgut. So right next to each one of these blood vessels, we have a ganglion. So what should I call this ganglion right here? This is number 1.
Celiac ganglion.
Or celiac ganglion. So in 2230, you might have been confused about why it was called the celiac ganglion. Any ideas why it is called the celiac ganglion now?
It's near the celiac trunk.
It's found right near the celiac trunk. See how this actually is not that difficult, because guess what number 2 is?
Superior mesenteric ganglion.
Exactly. So what's number 3?
Inferior mesenteric ganglion.
And the inferior mesenteric plexus.
Yeah, and the plexus. The plexus just means there's extra nerves up there creating like some craziness. So from 2230, remember these were called like pre-aortic or paravertebral. So you see how they're going to be in front of the aorta, right where our blood vessels are coming off of, okay? So perfect, all right. Now these ganglia, are they for parasympathetic or sympathetic?
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic.
For sympathetic, exactly. So I'm gonna draw a sympathetic trunk, but I'm only gonna draw the sympathetic trunk just so you guys understand what's happening. I want you to understand that you're gonna bypass the sympathetic trunk. Excuse me, let me say that again. In the abdominal cavity, you bypass the sympathetic trunk and you synapse at the ganglion, and then you come off the ganglion to the organ itself, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with parasympathetic first though, because it's a lot easier. So what is the parasympathetic innervation for foregut?
The vagus nerve.
Vagus nerve. So I'm gonna draw my vagus nerve coming like this and going like that. And I'm gonna say CN 10. What is my innervation, my parasympathetic innervation for midgut?
Vagus nerve.
Still.
Vagus nerve. So I'm just gonna branch off like that. Okay, now the harder part is going to be the hindgut.
Sacral outflow, S2 to S4.
So on my picture, I'm gonna find S2. So there's S2, there's S3, and there's S4. This is to hopefully help you guys understand that you're using segmental spinal nerves, and that's why they're segmental in nature. S2 through S4, sacral outflow, right? And they're gonna come like this. Let's just say they go back behind and they innervate my hindgut like that. There's some additional craziness on the PowerPoint slide about this hindgut innervation. We're gonna ignore it for our class. So if you come and ask me what the hypogastric plexus is, I'm gonna say ignore it, because it's just too complicated, okay? All right, let's do our purple. So I want you to tell me, what is the sympathetic innervation for foregut?
Greater
splanchnic nerve, T5 to 9.
So we want to remember we're coming out of segmental spinal nerves T5 through T9. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like that. I'm going to bypass my sympathetic trunk, and then where do I go? Where do I synapse at?
The celiac ganglion.
Ganglion.
Celiac ganglions, and you guys said this is greater. I'm going to abbreviate because I don't have a whole lot of room. And then I'm going to go foregut, right? So what should be midgut?
Lesser splanchnic.
Okay, so lesser splanchnic nerve. What are my segments?
T10 through 11.
There's 10, there's 11. going to bypass my sympathetic trunk. So this is T10 to T11. And where do I synapse at?
Mesenteric ganglion.
I'm going to synapse at my superior mesenteric ganglion, and I'm going to go like that. Okay, what is the hindgut?
Lesser least lumbar, T10 to T12 and L1 to L2.
So you'll find that in your lab manual that doesn't talk about lumbar anymore. So I'm just going to ignore the lumbar ones, and we're just going to do the lesser and the least. So we're going to do T12. So this is T12 coming out like, we're going to go this way. Where does the synapse at?
The inferior mesenteric ganglion.
Inferior mesenteric. So this is our least. Splanchnic nerve right there. And then what you got to do is take a little bit piece of the lesser and come down like this. And then synapse out like that. Okay. So why am I not doing the lumbar ones? Because in your lab manual, it stops talking about the lumbar ones for the hindgut. So we're just going to remember hindgut is going to be T10 and 11, lesser splanchnic nerve to the inferior mesenteric ganglion, T12 with the least splanchnic nerve to the inferior mesenteric ganglion, okay? And in my last minute, I'm going to do my vein. So the veins are going to come off this way. Why? Because you're going to use something called the hepatic portal vein system in order to drain the gut tube. So the hepatic portal vein system does not connect to inferior vena cava. So inferior vena cava would be right next to the dorsal aorta. So I'm not going to like put anything going in that direction on my picture. I'm going to have stuff coming off the other side. So what I want to have is a blood vessel that's coming this way, a blood vessel that's coming this way, and then I'm going to come back down, and I'm going to have a blood vessel that comes down this way. You're going to notice these veins kind of go, it seems like they go nowhere because they go into the liver. So blood's flowing in that direction. From our hindgut, our midgut, and our foregut in towards the liver. And this is going to be our hepatic portal vein. So this one is hepatic portal vein. Okay. So what is this supply for, or drainage, excuse me, for the foregut?
The splenic vein.
Splenic vein. And what you'll notice is actually the splenic vein and the celiac trunk are going to run parallel to each other. I've just drawn them in a weird way. So what's the next one for midgut?
Superior mesenteric vein.
And again, those two will actually run parallel to each other. And then what's the last one?
Inferior mesenteric vein.
So I want you to understand, blood is going to flow in this direction, like that, into the hepatic portal vein. Once it gets inside of the hepatic, into the liver, it's going to get filtered and it comes back out of blood vessels that are called hepatic veins. Okay, so everybody make sure you understand the difference between hepatic portal vein and hepatic vein. So these are hepatic veins, and they drain into the inferior vena cava that's going to be back behind the liver. One of the most commonly misidentified things is the hepatic portal vein is just called hepatic vein. When you write that, it is incorrect. You got to have that portal here, portal. So we'll talk about metabolism on Wednesday. And then when we talk about metabolism, I'll kind of try to explain the hepatic portal vein system again, so you understand why are we not actually putting stuff into the inferior vena cava directly. So the difference between the hepatic portal vein and the hepatic veins is the hepatic portal vein is draining all the gut tube. the hepatic vein comes off of the liver and moves blood directly into the inferior vena cava from the liver. For those of you who are still here, this is why getting drunk is so hard, because alcohol goes to your liver first, your liver metabolizes it. So that means you have to drink a lot in order for it to go past your liver.